on the entry points, I want to say that from the empirical evidence we got from all these policy research studies, entry points have been clearly identified, meaning that there is so much of potential in terms of how we could partner in a very positive and constructive way. And also, I think one thing would be at the center of our reflection is probably making sure there is a synergy between what the policy recommendations are as opposed to what the national priorities on WPS, UN Peace and Security, is about. And I think there is a way of finding a juncture of harmonizing those two requirements in order to come up with something that would contribute to this whole effort for peace building and sustaining peace. In terms of other entry points, I think if we build very strong partnerships with all stakeholders, bilateral and multilateral actors, we have a wealth of opportunities that we could use as entry points. We also need to look at what happened, what worked, what didn't work, in what country and in what other parts of the world. Because I know in some instances, we have looked at what the good lessons learned from Asia on how they tackled PVE, and also how their early warning mechanisms differ from what we have in West and Central Africa. So I think, and also look at East Africa, what's going on there. Because if we look at Nairobi, Kenya, what has happened there a few years back, we could all see that happening. And it's just a reflection of what happened back then. So I think without having to reinvent the wheel, there's a lot of material for us to identify entry points. In terms of protection of civilians in times of war and conflict, I must say this is a very difficult question because, looking at what's been happening over the past year and a half, a lot of effort has been put into protection, but it still didn't prevent people from being killed by, violent extremist groups. So I think there's more to be put into prevention, and there's more to be put into protection, even with IDPs. And I wanted to give another example. While I was in Bol in the Lake Chad Basin in November and December of 2019, I was there for a month and a half. And while we were doing some training for, security forces and women mediator on WPS and on, safeguarding social cohesion, creating the conditions conducive to more, willingness to abide by that new requirement, we were witnessing attacks by violent extremist groups who had crossed the border from Nigeria and come into a community of small islands where people were living. And they killed all of them, abducted some of them, took them away, and it was a chaos. So under those circumstances, if there's no state presence, how would it be possible to even provide protection for the people who live there? And one thing that is important to note is that the size of the countries in that region, look at Chad, it's huge. So, and the porous borders make it difficult for even, security forces to do their job. So should we think about allocating more resources towards protecting those areas that are very difficult and unstable? Would it do it? We don't have any transportation infrastructure. So if there was a crisis, people could only use their own feet to run, unfortunately. So these are things that we need to look at when we write concept note or we look for funding. It's about providing food, running water. It's about also providing healthcare, but it's about making sure people feel safe where they are. But there's a trade-off. People need to put enough resources into that.